to Pursue the Pull, the podcast that is geared towards helping people who are looking for a career change or for those who want to pursue their dreams and start their own business. Now, how do we differ from all of the other inspirational podcasts out there? Well, what we do is we interview people from a range of different industries. So if you want to start up your own restaurant or marketing agency or yoga studio, whatever it might be, we have someone specific from that industry to tell you how to get started, the highs and lows, and most importantly, the truth. Now, we are one group, one community, and we have all of the answers. I am your host, Stacey Bevan, and today I have an amazing guest for all you dog lovers. So I am joined with Emilija, and she is the owner of Pups, which offers all sorts of dog training and care. So first of all, thank you for joining us, Emilija. We're really excited.
Hi, Stacey. Hi, everyone. Very excited to be here to chat with you all.
Good. Okay, so before we go straight into the questions, I just want to give a little bit of a background into what it is that you do and the services that you offer. So you started working with dog training back in 2020 when COVID hit, and you needed more puppy cuddles for sanity. And that's when you set up Pups, which is a dog training school that also offers dog boarding, daycare and walking services. And you're actually based in Brussels. Your special feature is the Board and Train programme, which is equally popular both for young pups and dogs with behavioural issues. This allows clients to board their pups with a certified trainer in a structured learning environment to faster and more confidently achieve their goals. Now, your clients' pups are all ages, sizes and breeds and all different characters. And your oldest student pup was a 13-year-old sausage dog and your youngest was just 8 weeks old. Now, you specialise in working with these pups who have trouble adjusting in regular school environments or are overwhelmed in public situations, but all are welcome. Now, the future plans for your business are to expand your team and grow your board and train service, which specifically helps owners avoid the most frustrating part of a new family member joining their lives. So the sleepless nights, pee on the floor and restless pulling on the leash. So you are also looking forward to introducing 2 new classes, a neighbourhood patrol, where you will meet up for evening walks around the neighbourhood and learn how to ignore the passer-by pups, not to chase the foxes and resist the yummy trash, and a reactivative dog exclusive class, where you will welcome all pups who have trouble socialising in usual places and instead create a safe learning environment. So this is fantastic. You do a lot in the doggy world, so I can't wait to hear all about it.
We do. Actually, Stacey, I just have one correction. Actually, I've been working in the dog industry for over a decade.
Wow.
It just so happened that I was pursuing some other paths and other things. And when COVID hit us, it was so obvious that there's a big deficit of people who can work with dogs with more updated training methods.
Yeah.
We now have a community of dog lovers who are all for positive reinforcement. They're all for having a connection with their dog. They're all about connecting and making sure their dogs are fulfilled, not just there for decoration. And when the COVID started, a lot of people, obviously we were all stuck home. So what a lot of people did is they went and they got dogs. They adopted dogs, they bought dogs. And then everything closed. So there was no access to any dog schools. There was no access to any trainers.
Of course, yeah.
And I can say that even a couple of years ago, at least here where we are in Brussels, it was still not very popular to have a private trainer. At the same time, again, we know that Brussels is very French-speaking, French, Dutch, those are the languages. Mm-hmm. But we have so many expats here. There's such a huge expat community in Brussels. There's so many institutions, but we really severely lack trainers who actually speak English and who are willing to give classes in English. And if you're looking for somebody, if you have a reactive dog that has difficulties with people or with other dogs, you already have so few classes and so few schools and trainers that work in English. Yeah. And for those trainers to be taking on these dogs that can potentially harm somebody or each other, that's just a really difficult situation. So I felt like it was time to to get back into this doggy business, so to speak, because beginning of the COVID, all dogs were going mad and all the people were stuck at home. You have no work, you have nowhere to go to kind of let you just get away from it for a moment. And I started completely by accident again. It's quite a funny story.
Yeah, so tell us about that. Go into your background if you don't mind. So you mentioned that you've always, had this love for animals and so on, and this really started to take off during COVID. But what did you do like before that? Was you working? Did you always do this kind of just as a self-employed before you made it into a business? Like, what is all of the background? And then how did you transition and go into this?
Yeah, of course. So in the beginning, it all started, probably not surprising, with my own first dog. My parents got me a German Shepherd when I was probably 11. And they got me a dog. Obviously, it was a family dog, but I was the most connected and most interested in training and doing things. And this dog, Arga, she had a trainer that we hired to, make the dog easier to live with and teach her some commands and whatnot. And what happened was that trainer was absolutely awful, to the point where he would take my dog to train like 500 meters away from home in like this big field. And my dog would run away from him and run back home all petrified and just hide in her house. And at that point, I said to my father, we cannot keep working with this person. Obviously, something is not okay. And he said the phrase that probably we all have heard from our parents, well, who's going to do it then? If you don't want this person, are you going to do it? And I said, you know what? Okay, I'll do it. I love this dog and I want her to be better. So that's how I started training classes. Of course, at that point, I was about 15. At that point, you cannot really get classes, you cannot get certifications. I was still in high school. So what I did is I did a lot of courses online, a lot of anything I could get my hands off that didn't require me to be of certain age. And then once I turned 18, I went to Lithuanian Kinology Academy. I went to many different classes and I actually got my certifications, not with the idea of working this as a professional business, but I was just so interested into why does this work like that? How do you make the dog do it? It was just so interesting for me. And so I would work with some dogs here and there, but it was more for me and my dogs and for my family, my friends, people I'm close with that have dogs or pets in their houses. And then I moved here to Belgium. My mom was living here, so I moved here just to kind of just change environments a little bit, just to see the world, so to speak. I came here about 8 years ago for half a year. And I'm still here, obviously. And it just, when I arrived I found that in Belgium, it was really hard to find work without speaking French or Dutch. And me not even being sure that I want to stay in this country, I didn't feel like I immediately need to throw myself in French. First, I would like to find a job, get to know the country, the city, and then make a decision, right? And it was just so difficult. So, of course, my first jobs were probably what everybody does in Brussels when they come as students, as young people, which was bartending. I worked in all kinds of bars and restaurants here in Brussels. And then I met my now fiance. We used to work together in a bar. And now we have a daughter. And of course, when I was pregnant, I quit working the bar jobs and I was just kind of staying at home. Now, being a person that has worked her entire adult life, it's really hard to just stop everything and just sit at home. It can drive you up the wall. And so, okay, I was pregnant. It was like, okay, let me take a little bit time. Let me, bring the baby, everything. And then I'm going to go and find myself a job again. And about a week before our daughter was born, COVID hit and lockdown happened everywhere. And it was literally the very, very beginning where everybody was buying toilet paper by the dozen.
I remember that.
It was a crazy, crazy time. And so it started. And a week after it started, my daughter was born. So when my daughter was a little bit older, a couple months, I'm going, okay, I was going to go back to work. There is no work because everything is locked down and everything is closed. And then what happened was a friend of mine here in Brussels said, hey, I just got a dog and I know you're qualified. I know you're a licensed trainer. Can you help me? I have a specific problem with this dog. And I was like, yeah, of course I'll help you. I have nothing else to do. We're all stuck in our houses. Of course I'm going to come and do this. And so I went and I helped them with their dog. And then they were like, by the way, our neighbor has a dog who barks all the time. Can you help them? We're going to give your number to them. And I was like, yeah, of course. And so one by one, clients just kind of started adding up until at one point, several months later, I went up to my husband, my fiance, and I said, listen, I'm just so tired. I need, what is happening? I cannot continue like this. And he just looks at me and he goes, do you realize you've been working 7-day working weeks, morning until evening for several months now? It just so happened that I would leave at 9 in the morning and I would be back home at 9 in the evening because I was out with dogs. And I really didn't notice. This is something I thoroughly enjoy. I don't feel like I'm going to work. I have fun with this. And so for me, I would be just 7 days a week, just out there. And it was really, really hard. And that was the moment when I sat down and I realized this is a business now.
Yeah.
Like, this is not just me helping friends anymore, but I actually have a business. I actually have clients now. I have people who I don't know that are paying me money. Those are not my, these are clients. And that's kind of how I sat down and I said, listen, I kind of have to make this official. Because clearly people need the help. I mean, I can always find friends and like one-on-one clients, but I feel like people need this help, especially because during COVID, so many people adopted or bought dogs and they were not ready. A lot of people got dogs because they're lonely and it's lockdown and we spend the whole time at home. And what are you going to do? You're going to play with your puppy. While in reality, raising a puppy, not having a dog, but just raising a puppy from like small, several weeks old until he's about a year, let's say, it's such a hard work. It's so much work. And in my field, the other trainers that I know, once they get their own dogs, we take holidays for about a month just to get accustomed to this new dog, just to make sure we do the training that it requires. Now, probably you've never heard of this because people don't usually take a month off of work when they buy a dog because they don't feel maybe it's necessary, or maybe they expect to receive help from trainers and friends and so on. And that's exactly why Pups came to be, because I saw that there's just so many people that they're really struggling. They don't know what to do. And now the lockdown was still going on. So we were all still stuck in our houses, and all of these dogs barking and howling and peeing, they made lockdown way less enjoyable than it could have been for all these people. So Pups basically happened kind of by accident. I just went from one to another and it just snowballed. And now we have a team of, I want to say 6 people that all work with me. They've all actually been with me. Almost all of them have been with me from the very, very beginning. So we're a very close team, and everybody in my team has the same attitude of, we just want to help these people because there are so many, and I know it sounds like kind of like a downer, but there are so many issues regarding dogs in public places. So many dogs being chased and being attacked or getting lost. And I think people are starting to understand more and more how important it is to have control of your dog, not for the sake of I am the master and you have to listen, but for the sake of safety, for the sake of if I call you back from the street, you must come so you don't get hurt. And, and things like that. So Pups really was kind of a very lucky accident that just kind of worked out in everyone's favor.
Yeah. And how did you, because you said that, you hired a team and, that must have been a big change, from going and working and what you were doing before to then turning this into a business. So like, how did that transition feel to you? I mean, was it scary or was it just kind of organic, or, did you think this is going to work? This is not going to work? Like, what was your thought process at that time?
Honestly, I can tell you when it came to this company and how it grew, I never actively thought about, okay, within the next year, I need to hire 5 more people or open another location or whatever. It was always very organic. I even have some people that work with me that used to be my clients because we just had such a good chemistry between us. Once I trained their dog, it just kind of clicked and very quickly evolved into something that's not a client and customer relationship anymore. Basically, a lot of people that I hired for my team, I went up to them and I said, I can see that you're really great with this. I can see that you're good with dogs. I can see dogs love you. I like you as a person. We click really well. Would you maybe want to work with me? And so it wasn't even a plan. The first person I hired, it was literally somebody just came to my class and he was working with his dog. The dog was extremely anxious and scared and like really a ton of problems, but he was coming every week, every Sunday. We still have classes every single Sunday. So he would come every single Sunday, not miss a day, not miss a Sunday, birthday, Christmas, whatever. He's there because we're there. And then at some point, once that person's dog hit a point where, okay, he's not perfect, he's not fully ready yet, but he's much, much better. He's comfortable being around people and dogs. That person, without me saying anything, started helping out other people in class. So he would do the task with his own dog. And then I would find him with another client going, no, this is how you do it. And I literally end up just going to him and saying, you really have what it takes. I can see the passion, the same passion that I have. I can see the same, I want to help these people that I have. And that was my first hire. Literally just saw a person that I felt that person had potential. And I was like, hell yeah, come join me. And that's pretty much how everybody else has joined me. I can tell you honestly, I have tried hiring people the normal way, where you post you post the ad, you ask for the CV and the whole thing. But it never worked out. Every single person that I hired this way, there was one or other kind of problem every single time, and none of them lasted. Every single person that I hired through this like personal connection, all of those people are still with me to this day, and our families hang out. We spend Christmas together. Our kids are friends, like to that level. So I feel like it was really organic. I never had plans of expanding. I only started doing other services because it just naturally came to that. I was doing only training. And then one of my clients was like, do you think you could keep my dog while I go away? Sure, I suppose I could. And then that person talks to another person,
Yeah, so it grew kind of, even like getting your customers was that organic. And I suppose there wasn't that much cost that was involved in setup, or correct me if I'm wrong. Like, was there a lot of investment that you needed to grow the business?
Maybe it's not needed, but I personally like to keep up with what's going on. I can tell you that the kind of training we did 10 years ago when I just started, like I started over a decade ago, right? So obviously the methods that I had back then, the methods I've been taught on and raised on, they're not the same anymore. They're drastically different. It matters. And I feel like maybe it's not as much you need equipment and you need investment. Yes, it would help if I had money to invest in it and spruce it up a little bit. Sure. But the most important thing for me was always knowledge. I take several different courses over the year because the trainings always change and the methods always evolve. And you have to keep up with that. So I feel like the biggest investment that I have in this company used to be just my knowledge and just taking those courses. However, now that we've expanded a little bit, because we offer a kind of an all-inclusive service, meaning we provide the food, the snacks, the toys, anything. You basically bring your dog to us with just its collar and the dog, and we will provide everything else. So because I wanted to have that all-in service, to make it easier for people. Like when you're packing for holidays, you pack up yourself and then you have to pack a suitcase for your dog and make sure there's enough food because you're bringing him somewhere else, and his bowls and this and that. And then something gets lost or forgotten. So I feel like it's so much easier for people if I just say, bring the dog and the passport. Yeah. And that's it. And that takes a lot of like the mental load when you're preparing for holidays. Mm-hmm. So now there's obviously more expenses because I buy equipment and food and different things. I also, we provide anything. We even have classes included in our boarding services. So if you leave the dog with us, the group classes are included for no extra charge. Because the whole idea is to train the dogs while they're with us, so they go home better than they came to us.
Okay. Have you had any challenges that you've had to overcome, whether that was at the start or whilst growing this business?
I feel like one of the challenges is very similar to a lot of customer service areas is dealing with the people.
Yeah.
Because just like anywhere, in a cafe, in a bar, in a hotel, not every client is going to be easy. Not every client is going to be understanding. Sometimes I make mistakes. Sometimes my clients will go, it's okay, we're all human, it happens. But sometimes they'll go, this is unacceptable and I need a refund. And for me, because this business started very accidentally, I didn't actively sit down and say, I want a business and this is how I'm going to do it. I feel like I was lacking a lot of knowledge in how to organize it, how to kind of make everything work and flow, how to communicate with the clients, how to put the boundaries so that not only their needs are met, but my needs and my staff needs are met as well.
Yeah.
And that for me was really hard to find that kind of golden middle, having no previous experience in like business management and so on. And it was really hard for me as a business owner. You have to sometimes just accept what people throw at you. You can't always go arguing or proving your truths, nor there's always a point. I'm a very opinionated person, just me, who I am. So for me, that was really, if I'm looking at a client and something they're saying does not make sense, and I'm going, okay, so this is what you need to do. And they go, no, I will not do it, but I still want you to fix the problem. And to me, this is the point where in my personal life, I would go, I can't help you because you don't want to be helped. But when this person is paying you, you kind of have to go around in circles until you find that one thing that works. So I think for me, that was the hardest, that I just didn't have preparation. I didn't have an idea of how to talk to clients, how to set my boundaries, how to, give them arguments like, why is my price this and not that? We've always been a bit more expensive than most of services provided in Brussels, because I firmly believe that I am a trainer and I can provide a different experience for the dog, and I can provide him with different things rather than a student that does it for the puppy cuddles, right?
Yeah.
But for the most part, I can say I thoroughly enjoy this business and I really like it. And I think for a person that had no clue what she was doing, I think it turned out quite okay.
Yeah. It sounds it.
I don't think we have any like really big problems right now. I am learning how to manage it better. And I feel like that's the only thing that really needs to be to get better. We have very, very good relationships with clients for the most part. I am not aiming to be a big company. I'd rather have less clients, but have like really good relationships with all of them. Okay. So for the most part, when it comes to work part, it's amazing and I love it. And I go to work, I get up and I go, I'm working today. I'm going to go see my people. And how many people can say that about their job, to just go, oh my God, I'm so happy to be going to work.
And on this point, I'm going to dive into like this question because it's relevant to what you're saying now. So what advice would you give to people that were thinking about starting their own business and maybe they've got fear, self-doubt, or they're just not sure about what they want to do, or, they're just scared to take that leap and do it? What advice would you give to them?
Look, I think that the first and most important thing is you have to enjoy what you're doing. There is no way I would have pulled 7-day work weeks, 9 until 9, if I hated my job. I've had a job like that once where I worked 16 hours a day for 5-6 days a week. The job was terrible and the team was terrible. I was there not for a very long time, So I think that's the most important, to find a thing that you actually want to do.
Yeah.
Again, I went again into dog training during COVID because I was like, this is going to provide me with the feelings that I need, so to speak.
Yeah.
And because I really cared about what I was doing. And again, you remember I said this, for me, this started when I was like still a very, very young girl of 15. So for me, this has always been, I want to make it better for the dogs. I really care that the dogs can do better and live better. And that always kind of, it's always kind of driven me. And to this day, we have clients who will meet with 7 days a week, even if it's for 10 minutes, just to provide them with the exposure they need, because I really want their dogs to do better. And for me, I get so proud, and I'll tell all the stories, like these dogs that came to me with one problem or another, and what happened to them and how they've evolved and fixed those problems. And that for me made it really, really easier. So it was not scary. Even when I was like, I don't know if I should do this, I don't know if that's a good decision, I was always like, you know what, I'm going to go with the option that feels right for me, because in the end, I'm doing this for me. But I would say another just as equally important part of this answer is do your research, know what you're doing. Get all of your facts. How much is it going to cost you to establish the company? What documents do you need? How do you need to go about it? Do you need a license? Do you need because, being just a dog trainer, I need my license as a trainer, but I don't need any health and safety and so on and so on. If you want to do boarding and daycare and so on, these are the things you have to think about, the regulations, how are you going to make it all official? You have to think about where you're going to do it. So the practical applications of how are you going to realize this are just as important as I have a dream.
Yeah. And that brings me on to the last part of the question. But if someone wanted to get into doing exactly what it is that you do, what advice would you give them?
I think the most useful advice I can give is you have to be prepared when you're working in a dog training industry. You have to be prepared to keep up with the new training methods, with the new philosophies, with the equipment, with what's going on in the world. You have to make sure that, for example, I do some positive reinforcement. I do balance training. I pretty much do individualized training. So I will meet with a client. I will meet their dog. I will see the problem. And then I will say, this is what I propose for your specific situation. But if you want to specialize in one particular field, you have to be really careful. For example, people who train with e-collars, electric collars, now they want to completely ban them in UK. Because they're saying it's very cruel. It's not safe. It's cruel. It harms the dog. And these are people who have not done their research, because an e-collar does not equal a shock collar that uses electricity. An e-collar is a collar you can use through a distance that makes a noise or that vibrates. There's no pain. There's no electricity. There's no harm to the dog. But it escalated to the point where now in UK, they're ready to fully, completely ban these e-collars. And that makes me think of, if you want to train dogs that are going to be livestock guardians, dogs who will protect your farms and crops and whatnot, right? You cannot have these dogs on the leash, because their entire job is patrolling the area and making sure everyone is safe. If you don't have collar with the leash and you don't have an e-collar, how are you communicating with your dog that's a kilometer away? How are you going to make them hear you and look back at you? So whenever you pick like a specific area where you want to train, let's say, if you do positive reinforcement, you have to be aware what are aversive training methods, because it's so easy to mix them up and accidentally use the wrong one. And because the dog training and dog care and everything is now kind of on the rise, like people really are paying more and more attention to how everyone is treating their dogs, you have to be so careful not to mislabel. Just as an example, I used to advertise as a positive reinforcement trainer before I decided to change my specialty.
Yeah.
And one of the clients made a really good point, which it was a learning moment for me. And that's why I'm giving this advice, because they messaged us on Instagram. They had seen our picture or video of this dog that we had. Now, this dog had a training collar as per request of the owner. So it's not always my call. I will always cooperate with the owner, right? And try to do whatever they want me to do. However, this dog is walking with a training collar. She's absolutely happy. She's absolutely fine. The owner is aware of how her dog is being walked and the collar that's being used. And I received this comment on Instagram that said, I would never come to you, and how dare you advertise as positive reinforcement and still use this collar. This collar is cruel, this collar is damaging, hurtful for the dog, and so on. Now, I can understand how that might seem. Maybe you see somebody with e-collar or the prong collar and you go, oh my God, why would you do that to your dog? It's so important to understand, why are you using those tools? Why are you using this technique? And I can say with 1000% certainty, the way we use the training collars, it doesn't hurt the dogs. And you can see it doesn't hurt the dogs. But for a lot of people, they hear positive reinforcement and they go, you cannot do anything else. And so it's really, really important that when you're picking your area where you're going to work with dog training, that you know the tools, that you know the methods, that you know the theories, everything that goes with that particular training philosophy. You have positive reinforcement, you have balanced training, you have aversive methods. I personally don't use any aversive methods, but I wouldn't say it's in the dog training community, we say purely positive, and it's in brackets because there's no such thing as a purely positive training method, right? It just does not exist. So it's really, really important what each training style entails. I personally am a balanced trainer because I don't believe that you can use the same one positive method for any and all dogs. And on top of that, I specialize in reactive, anxious, aggressive. These are the dogs that bite. These are the dogs that attack. You cannot really avoid saying the word no and just keep throwing treats at him and expect the dog to recover. At some point, you're going to have to set boundaries. At some point, you're going to make sure everybody else, including the dog, is safe. And not just being allowed to do whatever to make him feel comfortable because it's positive reinforcement. So that's the main reason I stepped away from being purely positive. So this, and I think this is probably one of the most important things any dog trainer should look into. Another very important thing is to pick what do you want to do? Do you want to train dogs, puppies who need to learn how to go potty, who need to learn how to be in the house? Do you want to train working dogs? Do you want to train dogs for sports? All of these things entail going to different courses, different classes, getting different certifications. And because I started over a decade ago, I've had a long, long time to try different things. And so I have certifications in different styles of training for that reason. But if you're just starting out and you're going, okay, I'm just going to do this, it's so important to know what is that you're going to do, what that entails, and be very clear about delivering that message to the clients, because obviously everybody wants the best care for their dogs. If you're just starting out, I wouldn't recommend going very wide. I would say think about what you want to do. Are you going to train sports dogs? Are you going to train family pets? And then from there you go, okay, I'm going to go with family pets. So what kind of methods I want to use? What works with me? Because also, if you as a trainer, if you don't believe in what you're doing, if you don't believe your methods work, you're not going to get anywhere. I can tell you, I approach every single dog with the same confidence of, I got this. I can absolutely help you. I can absolutely train this dog. And it happens sometimes that I am not able, because I am not, it's not possible for me to be able to fix every single problem. And for some dogs, maybe I'm just not the right trainer. Just like in school, you don't necessarily click with every single teacher that you have.
Yeah.
So I absolutely have had moments where I was just going, oh my God, I don't know what to do with this dog. I Googled, I asked people, and I'm at a loss. I don't know what to do. And when you have a dog trainer Googling things, like that's like the absolute desperation, because we have so many resources from schools and courses.
Yeah.
So if you cannot find something, I also have like a whole group of friends who are dog trainers or dog specialists in one way or another. So if you ask the question there, and if you look at your resources and you still got nothing, that's when you Google, and that's a problem. But it happens to everybody. And, the better prepared you are for what you want to do, the smaller chances of that happening.
Oh, look, that is great advice. And I love how you've just broken everything down and the different training and everything that's required, and focusing on one area. I think that's a good point to make as well. But look, you have been fantastic. We've run out of time, but you have been amazing. So look, thank you so much, Emilija, for joining us and agreeing to do this podcast. I know that a lot of people, especially people that are interested in this kind of area, I know that they're going to get a lot from this podcast interview. So thank you so much for joining us on a Saturday as well.
No worries at all. It was so fun to talk about it. And I feel like this sphere of work doesn't get talked about a lot. Yeah. So it's really important to encourage people to get into it more.
Exactly. So thank you so much. And look, enjoy the rest of your Saturday.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for listening. I'll talk to you all soon. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.